We opened an antique store, but it had to be family friendly, where we could work and still have fun. Sometimes you have to climb a mountain or open some new doors to find the treasures inside. This is our life, this is our adventure, this is Curiosity Inc.
Hey, good morning everybody. So today I am off to go check out an estate. The lady said she mainly had some dolls and collectibles and things like that. So I don't know exactly what's going to be there, but I'm going to go check it out, see what I can find, and hopefully there's some cool stuff. So off I go. Okay, so the back of the car is pretty loaded up. I don't know if you can see back there, but I can't even see out the back window of this little vehicle here. So I'm gonna get back to the shop and unload and show you guys what I found. So let's go check it out. So I'm back at the shop now. I just have to get out to the car, bring everything inside, and we'll go through and see what there is to see. Okay, so everything is loaded into the store. I've got a couple boxes to go through. This was kind of a neat piece here. It's like 1930s bar, basically like a nice oak arts and crafts style bar, and liquor cabinets and stuff are always fairly popular. It looks like there's still some stir sticks in there. So very neat piece. Old barware is popular, so that's kind of a cool one right there. Got a vintage lamp as well, and it's a monkey holding a couple candles. He's got his tail on him there. So we're gonna go through and sort through some of this stuff and see what treasures are inside of these boxes. These are a couple vintage ladies' hats. It looks like there's two, nearly three, I guess, inside this box. So we do get some vintage clothing in here every once in a while, so we got some old hats. And this is an original oil painting, and it's actually a local scene for us. This is a train bridge that's in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton here. And it's signed W.F. Irwin, so I'm going to have to do a little research on that, but it definitely has that impressionist sort of group of seven vibe going for it, so I'm guessing it's probably from the 40s or 50s. Definitely a more modern approach. You can see he's labeled it on the back as well. Kind of a nice piece, actually. Old train bridge. I thought that was pretty cool, and that is an original painting as well. That's it looks like it's acrylic on board, is from what I can see. And I picked up this world map as well. Now normally I don't buy world maps unless they're really old or somewhat important. This one was kind of fun because it was actually an advertisement piece that a chocolate company had distributed these to schools, and the whole time that the kids were in class they'd be looking up and seeing pictures of chocolate bars. So early form of advertising towards children. It's double-sided as well, so you can kind of see it's got the crispy crunch and the other bar there. So yeah, these were designed basically to get kids thinking about chocolate when they should have been thinking about school, but kind of a cool piece, so I picked that one up. So I saw the suitcase sitting there as well, and it looked kind of interesting, so I ended up picking it up, and it had some neat stuff inside of it. So let's go through and I'll show you what was inside. So one of the items was this. This is from the 1920s. It's called Ivorex, and obviously it's made in England, but it's a war memorial piece. So First World War, this would have just been something to hang in your house. And you can see the Scottish National War Memorial, Edinburgh Castle. And yeah, this is dated it's hard to read, I think it's 1920. So it would have been just after World War I. So really early piece, and yeah, kind of neat. It looks like ivory. I guess that's why they call it Ivorex, because it's simulated ivory. And as we go through the case here, there's some pretty neat things. So there's a couple vintage cameras, and I haven't even really checked them out yet. This one is labeled Retina C, and it's just an early Kodak, from what I can see. And here's another little camera. This one is a Balda West German. It's a smaller camera, so it's the Balda Net. But kind of neat. It's got its leather carry case. So this trunk just has all kinds of stuff inside of it. Little flask, which I guess tells you how drunk you are by how empty this bottle is. Oh, Scottish people. I'm part Scottish myself. They always seem to have lots of drinking apparatus. So it says, when your heels hit hard and your head feels queer and your thoughts foam up like the froth on beer, and when legs are weak and your voice is strong and you laugh like hell at some damn fool song, you're drunk, by gosh, you're drunk. Well, if you could still read that after finishing this off, I think you're probably doing pretty good for yourself. Vintage little tin wind-up toy, which still seems to work. I haven't even wound it up. It's working. This little doll here, I believe it's either Bo or Luke Duke. I gotta see which one was the blonde one, but that's one of the Dukes of Hazzard guys there. That's not just a regular doll. It's probably put out by Mego. Yeah, Mego 1974. I don't get into dolls a whole lot, but some are kind of interesting. This is an early Transformer. At first I thought it was just a little die-cast toy of a Lamborghini, but as I look at the bottom here, it is an earlier one. It's Takara, Japan. So that's sort of an early Transformer. So I'll check that guy out, and he looks to be pretty complete and pretty good shape. This is a Hot Wheels steering rig truck. So it has a little steering wheel on the top. I had one of these when I was a kid, so you can actually push it and drive and steer your semi-truck all around. Those are kind of cool. And yeah, look, there's a little Dukes of Hazzard car there. So somebody at one point liked the Dukes of Hazzard. This is an old Barbie. I don't often buy the old Barbies, but this looks like a pretty early one to me. So we're just going to check and see. They're usually labeled on the back here somewhere with what year they are, so I have to invade Barbie's privacy a little bit here. So this one is dated 1958, it looks like, made in Japan. So that's going to be a pretty early one. Yeah, 58, Mattel, made in Japan. So yeah, that's a pretty early Barbie. So that'd be right around the time when Barbies first came out. So that's probably not a bad little find for inside of an old trunk like this. So we'll check her out later on and see if it ends up being a good score. We've got another little tin wind-up toy there, a little alligator. Vintage flashlight, little African Americana sort of cookie jar there. And inside of this is some early, really old sunglasses, but these are driving glasses. So they're polarized, and these are actually men's, as much as they look small. These are like 1940s, I'm gonna say, men's polarized sunglasses. So pretty cool, and it's got the original case too. So that trunk, possibly a couple treasures. We'll have to check Barbie out and see what she's worth, but I believe early Barbies can be pretty good. So we'll move on to the next boxes. Another interesting piece that I ended up picking up today was this. This is a print. It's a serigraph, which is kind of like a silkscreen, and it's from an artist named George Arbuckle. This was from 1950, and it's entitled Forest with Hemlock, I believe. I'm gonna have to double check that. But this was a series that came out just during the Second World War and ran for a number of years afterwards to try and introduce art and get it into schools and public buildings. And it employed a lot of very important Canadian artists to do it. So fantastic piece. It's a good size too, but also a really neat thing to find. Now on to box number 2. So we've got a 1928 edition of Blackie's Girl Annual. So these were books that had stories, they had ideas, things you could do, crafts, activities, you know, like how to make samplers, and just, yeah, lots of stuff to keep a young lady busy back in the 1920s. So good shape overall, good color, kind of an interesting piece. I'm going to go through some of the other stuff here. Let's see. This is an old advertisement for Scotch whiskey. So this is this would have sat inside of a store, like a liquor store, and you would put the bottle of whiskey right there on top. So they had this in their bar, so they probably asked their local liquor store if they could have the display when they're done with it. That's probably 1950s, I'd say, somewhere in there. It's pretty old. Pretty cool. Little cardboard Pepsi advertisement. It's in pretty good shape. Advertising always seems to sell. This box is just full of paper and wrapping. It's an old duck-themed lamp. Kind of cool. Say that's, again, 40s or 50s. You can kind of tell a lot of this stuff is similar vintage, as it was her parents' stuff at one point, so that's a neat piece. And there's an old oil lamp. Kind of a decorative one. It's interesting. It's kind of arts and crafts style, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to keep going through boxes and see what else is in there. Okay, I've got the boxes unpacked, and inside some of the boxes were some 30s decorative figures, some vintage kind of 40s looking lamps, you know, like it's got the duck theme going on, pretty cool. Some mid-century sort of 1950s looking tigers and stuff. A little cow. So there's all kinds of stuff in there. There were a few interesting pieces though. There was a couple vintage Strombecker race cars, 1/24 scale, and looking inside the boxes here, it looks to me like pretty much everything is there for it. So I'm gonna have to go through and see if everything's there. Also got this really cool vintage Seltzer bottle. And what's unique about this is that, so it says Old English Beverage Company, Victoria, British Columbia on one side, but it had actually belonged to another company before that, and they sort of sandblasted off the other logo and etched a new a logo on it. But this one I think said, it's really hard to read because they definitely tried to get rid of it. W. Sharp and Company, and it had a castle logo. So I'm gonna have to look that up and see which was the rare bottle, because one, you know, you never know what happened. It could have been a situation where the W. Sharp Company ordered a bunch of these and never paid their bill. And then the other company said, hey, we need some seltzer bottles. And the guy said, well, I've got a whole bunch, but they got this other logo on it. We can do something with it and get rid of it. So maybe they got a really good deal because they got rid of the other guy's logo. Who knows? But it's kind of unusual to see a rebranded seltzer bottle like that. So that's a neat piece. And this is quite early too. This is probably like, you know, teens, 20s kind of early. So that's early stuff. So later on they went to cages around the seltzer bottles because this glass style was prone to exploding, which is never fun when you're trying to have a good time and just have your seltzer and your drink and it blows up. That'd be an awful time. So, but in all, I'd say my favorite pieces that I found today, the German camera is kind of cool. The 1958 patent date Barbie, I'm gonna have to check that out, but that's a neat piece to find. I mean, getting it right out of a toy box, you know, or a suitcase where it's been sitting for years. The old Strombecker race cars. Yeah, this is a number of really interesting things that came out of it. So when I first got the phone call from this lady, she said she basically just had plates and dishes, and I don't do plates and dishes, but you never turn down a lead because you never know what you're gonna find. So thanks so much for tuning in again today, guys. I appreciate it. Make sure to follow us as well. You can like us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. You can visit our website at www.curiosityedmonton.ca or visit us live in person. This is a real store you can actually come to and come and see us here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and we'll see you all soon. Bye for now.